Welcome to the Sonic Boomers podcast. I'm Pete Torriello. Maureen is not in the studio today because she doesn't have to be. This is a legacy edition of our show. And when we say legacy, we refer to that handful of episodes that we did when we first started the podcast, when we were an audio-only podcast. We had not yet taken the show to YouTube to allow you to see our happy, smiling faces. This show was recorded, and we were at a crossroads in our lives, in a good way. Maureen and I had just sold our home that we lived in for 35 years, and in a few weeks we would be moving into our new home, taking on a new adventure. And of course, if you've ever moved, you know that when you sell your home, you've got to clean things out. And we found in the cleaning out process some, well, you might say, buried treasure. The rest you'll hear about in the podcast. There is no video. There may be some pictures here and there, but basically it's like a radio show. I hope that you will stay with it nevertheless, because we enjoyed recording it, and I think you'll enjoy hearing it. So here is the Sonic Boomers, recorded on February 14th, 2020.
I'll sing you a song, oh, the fish, oh, the sea.
Way, hey, blow the man down.
Come all ye young sailormen, listen to me.
Oh, give us some time to blow the man down. Aye, Maureen, I'm a pirate as I am, and I'll make you walk the plank.
What are you doing?
Treasure, me darling, treasure that we found this week.
Oh, give us some time to
And what does shiver me timbers mean anyway? Well, hi there. I'm Pete.
And I'm Maureen.
And once again, it's time for our weekly podcast where every week my wife of more than 40 years and I get together with some drinks in our dining room studio and talk about whatever is on our mind. Sometimes it's off the top of our head,
And sometimes it's somewhere else.
but somebody gave us microphones.
And we're not afraid to use them.
So what are we talking about this week? Well, we're talking about the treasures that we actually found this week while we were cleaning out our house and getting ready to move in the next 3 weeks or so.
And they are a variety of things.
So what were some of the things that you came up with this week?
Well, first of all, when we've been telling people that we're moving,
Yeah.
a lot of people are just like, well, how long have you lived there? We're like, 35 years.
35 years. And let me tell you, it's amazing the stuff that you pile up in 35 years.
But that's what I was going to say. A lot of people said, oh, you're going to be surprised at what you found.
Yeah. Was there anything that did surprise you?
Not that much. I mean, I pretty much knew what was there.
Yeah.
I hadn't used it or seen it, but I kind of knew and took comfort in knowing that it was there. So anyway, one of the first things that I found was my Barbie, and and Midge, her best friend.
Oh, poor
and,
Barbie.
Well, let me finish. And Skipper, her little sister, and all the clothes that I had. Some of them were handmade by my aunts. Some were things that I had made through the years. And let me tell you, this is the original 1960s Barbie, the brunette with the black hair.
She wasn't always blonde?
No, the original Barbie was brunette, and actually you could get her in blonde and redhead as well. But when you saw the Barbie image, it was usually the brunette. And anyway, I was like so excited that I had saved it all these years. I knew it, that I had her. She was like my favorite toy growing up. And I opened up the box with all the Barbie stuff, and I'm looking at the clothes and everything. And I look, and there's Barbie, only her head. I don't know where Barbie's body went.
Headless Barbie.
It's the head only, it's the bodiless Barbie. And I've been holding on to it all week, thinking, well, the body must be in another box, but I haven't found it yet.
Maybe it'll show up when we clean out the hall closet.
I don't think so. I haven't seen it
Maybe,
yet.
maybe it fell overboard and it's in the closet.
Maybe it walked the
somewhere
plank there, matey.
under some towels or something. I hope.
I hope, but it's just very strange to me.
I'm wondering if the Toriello kids' code of silence is in effect on this.
You know, if it was in a readily available spot where they knew about it,
Yeah.
I would say yes. But I don't think they even knew.
It's been hidden away.
It's been hidden away.
Now our kids are going to be going, you see, they're blaming us again. Well, you know, if you didn't tell us about all of the mischief that you guys used to pull off over here that we didn't know about, we wouldn't be wondering about this now.
That is quite true. But sadly, I wound up giving some of it away to charity because when I looked at what was left, a lot of the outfits that meant something to me were yellowed. They were destroyed. They were wrinkled, and you couldn't even tell what they were. So I only kept the very best of the best, put them in a box, and donated them. Because my kids don't want them.
No.
And the grandkids don't want them. So I
Do
said,
kids today even play with Barbies anymore, or is that something that's been digital aged
well,
out?
it's a very small amount of time that they do,
Yeah.
and they don't really play with them like the way I did. And the Barbies now, like you buy, if you want Barbie to be a ballerina, you buy ballerina Barbie. If you want Barbie the bride, you buy the bride Barbie. In my day, you bought the Barbie, and then you went out and you bought the bride gown, and you went out and you bought the doctor's outfit, or you bought the ballet outfit, or the jogging outfit. Now you have to buy a Barbie for every outfit.
Did you have the Bobby sports car?
No, I did not.
Barbie sports car.
I didn't have a lot of the accessories. I had basically Barbie and Midge and Skipper and whatever came with the different outfits. Now my friend Marilyn had the Barbie Dream House, which in those days was made out of cardboard. It was not the big monstrosity that they sell now.
It was designed by the Property Brothers.
HGTV. Open concept. When you opened up the
Oh, no,
box.
the Barbie Dream House did not have an open concept, I'm sure, not in those days.
Well, anyway. So
Every room had a wall, like a room should be.
anyway, that was my first treasure. Another thing that I found was a collection that I had when I was young. I collected pennants, which are those triangular type flag things that they sell almost anywhere you go.
Like a banner?
Like a banner. And they were things that places that I had been and places that other people had been and knew I collected them and brought them back for me. And some interesting ones that I found, or I had one which was for John F. Kennedy's election, political banner. I also found another one for the deer paddock up in Essex County, up in the South Mountain Reservation, which no longer exists.
Yeah, that's long gone.
We also have one. We live right across the street from where Olympic Park, which was an amusement park back in the early 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah, I think Olympic Park actually went all the way back into like the early 1900s.
I'm not sure how far
Yeah.
back, but anyway, it was literally across the street from where our house is, and I visited there as a kid, and I had the pennant from that. I had the World's Fair, the New York World's Fair pennant, and a lot of other ones, but those were like some really neat ones that I found and kind of warmed the cockles of my heart. Another thing that I found was an autobiography that I wrote about myself in 7th grade, complete with my sarcastic humor of talking about the exciting adventures of John, Jean, and Judy.
Which was the Catholic school
Version
equivalent of Dick, Jane, and Sally.
the early primer books that
Yeah.
you learned to read on. My stamp collection was another thing that I found. Anyway,
Is that the same as First Day covers, or is that something different?
It was all part of it. First Day covers are envelopes that they have the stamp on the very first day that it's issued, and they go through a special postmark that says first day of issue. And there's supposed to be worth a little something more than just having the stamp. And I had a whole album full of first day covers, but I also had like a worldwide stamp collection, which unfortunately I haven't kept up with now, but back in those days I had quite a pretty up-to-date collection of things, and plus I had inherited my father's things. So there's a pretty wide range of stamps in that album. I don't know if it's worth anything or not. I kind of think probably not. Maybe some isolated stamps are. But I don't know. Those were a few of the treasures that I unearthed. What about you?
I don't think that there's, like you said, there wasn't anything there that surprised me. One thing that I think surprised our son was we found his wrestling guys.
He was so happy.
Our older son, who was now 40 years old, when he was a youngster, was a big wrestling fan.
Oh, WWF, right?
WWF. Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and all those guys. And he used to collect the figures.
Yeah, the plate, whatever you call them.
Some of them were plastic. Some of them were like rubbery, stretchy things. And he had asked about it before.
A lot of times, and I never knew where they...
We had no idea.
I thought he had them, and he insisted he didn't, and I was like, well, I haven't seen them.
Yeah, because we really hadn't. We had no idea where they were. And the other night, I'm down in the basement, and I'm pulling out these big plastic, kind of like Tupperware bins that we started keeping stuff in after the house flooded a few times. And we actually lost some sentimental items. And I pulled this thing out, and I'm going through it, and I'm like, oh my God. The wrestling guys are here. And I think they were all in there.
Yes, I think so. And you texted him, and he answered right back.
Yeah.
I'm coming over.
Yeah, he was here in like half an hour. He jumped in the car, came up with our granddaughter Kai, and came and got his wrestling guys, and I know he was delighted.
He was.
He was so happy to have those back. So I was glad that we were able to make that happen. Serendipitously as it may have been, it was nice that it was able to happen for him. For me, of course, it's always nice to find the old pictures of my family. And I threw a lot of those out because we had, my parents, God bless them, I was an only child. And it took my mom and dad over 20 years to have me. And why that was is still...
None of your business, Peter.
My mother used to say to me, yeah, none of your business, Peter. It's none of your business. But I imagine that she had a very difficult time bearing children. And so they kept everything. And I guess most parents do that. But they were really... My mom was like really... here's the first tissue that Petey blew his nose on, and that kind of sentimentality, which is very sweet.
Yes.
But we had a lot of stuff, and they had my first birthday cards, and I think my mother kept them all the way up to like I was maybe 6 or 7, and they unfortunately were destroyed when the cellar flooded, and a lot of photographs were destroyed, but a lot were salvageable. But there were a lot of pictures in these old moldy family albums that we had going back to like the 1940s that I didn't even know who these people were in the picture. Mm-hmm. And of course, anything that had my mom and dad in it, I wanted to see. But my dad had a lot of pictures that he took when he was in the Army.
Right.
And so, hey, here I am with Smokin' Joe, and here I am with Crazy Charlie in Seattle, Washington, outside Barracks B. And, excuse me, to me, while, I admire my dad's service in the military, but the pictures didn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't know who the hell Smokin' Joe is, and Crazy Charlie, and, so those got thrown out.
Yeah.
And
you gotta draw the line.
You got to
somewhere.
draw the line somewhere. And there were pictures of my folks with friends of theirs, and some of them I knew. Mm-hmm. But again, these people are long gone. My parents are long gone. And how many pictures do you need? So I kept the ones that were basically my mom, my dad, I think my cousin Joanne, the cousin that.
It's like a sister to me.
Right. We're 6 months apart. I am the elder, and we grew up together more or less, and we are like brother and sister to this day. So if there's anything with Joanne and me in it and our immediate families, I tried to keep those. I mean, we've got pictures of me as a baby in the high chair when we lived in Newark. You know, my parents moved out of Newark in 1955 when I was like a year old. And we came to the community that we're moving to now.
Right.
And so there are a lot of pictures from that era. And those are the things that I held on to. So it was nice to see those again. Great to see pictures of my mom when she was like 19, 20 years old.
She was a babe.
She was a babe. She was really cute. And I used to say to her when I first found these pictures as a teenager, yeah, Mom, you were a pretty good-looking babe when you were young. Shut up, Peter. I'll smack you down. I don't like you talking like that to me, Peter. Don't you be talking like that. So those pictures were a happy memory to find. I did get rid of some. So I got rid of my Flying Dutchman.
I remember.
I had the Remco Flying Dutchman, which my folks got me as a little kid, probably in the early mid 60s. But it didn't work anymore. And on all of the Flying Dutchmans, if you look them up online or on eBay, all of the windshields are warped. They're all bent. And the electrodes where the batteries went had worn out on it. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't work. It really, if it's going to be worth anything, it has to be in the box.
Right, with all the original packaging.
All the original. And you know, I didn't have the little Dutchman that rode inside it anymore. Like I said, the windshield was warped. I didn't have the box. It really wasn't worth a lot of money. And I'm like, I don't have the time or the desire to make this thing work again.
Right.
And if I can make it work again, what am I going to do with it?
You can sit there on
I'm going to sit on the floor and pull the little string on it and, you know, ride it around the house. So that actually went out the door. There, of course, is my mother's lamp.
Oh, tell them the story about the lamp.
This
is a great story. Folks.
This is what I call, it's almost a deathbed promise. My mom had cancer, and during the last 6 months of her life or something, she was in bed watching TV, and she got to talking about this lamp that she had. Now it's an Italian lamp. Mom, I'm sorry, but it's a monstrosity. It's very ornate.
It's like the typical Italian Renaissance with like angels and cherubs and flowers and
it looks like that. It looks like that
know.
Capo di Monte stuff that they used to sell on the Home Shopping Channel.
Yeah.
And the shade, it had a big bell kind of a shade on it, and that got ripped years ago. And the thing sat out. We never used it in any of our homes.
No.
We didn't use it in the apartment. We didn't use it in the house in Cliffwood Beach. We didn't use it here. And we're not going to use it when we go to Old Bridge. But I kept it because my mom said to me one day, we're having this bedside conversation, and she says, Peter, you got to do me a favor. And I'm like, yeah, what? She's like, when I go, there's going to be people in this house looking for stuff. And if you give that lamp away to anybody, I'll come back and haunt you. So help me. I will come back and haunt you, Peter. Don't you get rid of that lamp. So this lamp, and I had one relative in particular who wanted that lamp. And when my mom passed, I think my dad, in his grief, was basically giving away anything that wasn't nailed down in the house. And so these relatives came in, and one of them asked me for the lamp. And I said, no, you cannot have that lamp. And I was like 17 years old.
Right.
So it was like, well, who the hell are you to
Yeah.
say that to me? And I'm like, I'm my mother's dutiful son, and I made her a promise that I would never part with that lamp. So I'm sorry. And I think that she held that against me for a long time.
That relative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she was really offended that I did that. But so be it. A promise is a promise. But because a promise is a promise in Pete world, I really should get rid of this lamp. I don't have the shade. It works. The wire on it isn't even dry rotted. You could put a bulb in there now and it works. And if we had a great big shade to match it, it would be usable.
I know at one point I was going to surprise you. I was looking for a shade.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find one of the right dimensions because all the lamps today are very minimal.
It's a
and this
big,
needs to be
gaudy
big.
lamp with a huge, gaudy shade. And I wrestled a couple of weeks ago. I was actually sitting down in the basement looking at the lamp, and I was thinking, maybe it's time for you to go. And I thought, and I started crying.
You know what? Just bring the lamp. You know,
Yeah, I've decided it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. It can, can go in a closet at the new house, and I don't need the bad luck in case Rose decides
case,
that
yeah.
she's going to come
God,
back and
no.
settle the score with me. So, of course, that is a treasure, sort of. Also,
I just had a weird thought. Did you ever look like inside it? Maybe she had money hidden in there or
there's
something.
nothing in there. There's nothing.
Darn it.
Nothing in it but air.
I just had that
and it's not
fleeting
even.
thought.
I don't even think it's worth any money because I looked it up online.
Yeah.
And there are other lamps like it, but they're not. They're not. They're the price of a lamp.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
what about they're worth. So I'm not going to bring this thing on to Antiques Roadshow and have the guy say, "Whoa, this is $100,000 lamp you have."
Sold.
No, our family didn't have any good junk. We just had junky junk. No good junk. But I did find my electric trains, and I knew that they were down there, of course. I just didn't know where, like you said.
Yeah.
And I have a set, excuse me, I have a set of 1954 Lionel O-gauge trains. There are 9 of them. I have an engine, which is the 625 engine. You guys that are train aficionados will know what that is. Apparently, it's pretty rare. And it's in working order. The trains are in excellent condition. I have the steam engine, the coal car, the tanker car, the pipe car. Did I say the coal tender? I think I have a cattle car. I have 9 all told. I've got some track. I don't know if I have all of the track. And I have the transformer, which is the original Lionel transformer, 20-volt transformer, and the lights on it still work. I plugged it in the other day and turned it on, and the light still works on the transformer.
Cool.
And it gets brighter and softer when you turn the power up. So I think I'm probably going to give that away. I have a friend who is a train aficionado, although I think, I don't know if he's in. I have one friend who's into, what is it, HO?
HO, the smaller ones.
The smaller ones. And then I have another friend who loves them for their historic value. And so, Tony, if you're listening, I hope you'll take my trains. I'm going to gift it to you, man. I don't even want any money for it. I just want them to find a good home, and I don't really want to take them with me to the new place. So that was a nice find. And the way that I got those was my aunt and uncle used to work for Lionel in Irvington.
They were in Irvington. Wow.
Yeah, right over in the industrial park. That was the Lionel factory.
Cool.
So they were made here, and our family in those days was based out of Newark.
Right, so that was an easy commute.
So that's how I got a set of trains, and I had everything. I had the bridges, I had the gates, I had the I think the farmhouse where the guy comes out, and I had the cows on the track that would go around. I had all that stuff. I lost most of it, but I did have the trains, the track, and the transformer.
And maybe we had the tunnel, too.
And the tunnel. It was paper mache, you said?
Like a paper mache type thing, yeah. But it got crushed
It
somewhere
did.
along
Our
the line.
next door neighbors, when I was a kid, gave that to me, and it got damaged.
You know what else I found? I'm just remembering. This shows you how obsessive compulsive maybe that I am. But I found the 3 single-spaced typed pages of confirmation questions that you were required to know to make confirmation back when I was in 6th grade.
How many questions were there?
I think it was 174. And
this was for your confirmation.
For my confirmation.
These were the questions that
the bishop was
if
going
the
to ask
bishop
you.
asked you, and there was the church in Sheboygan that the bishop asked little Johnny,
a question number 142, and little Johnny didn't know the answer, and the bishop got mad and walked out, and now when little Johnny dies, he's going to hell. Those questions.
Yep, those are the ones. And the funny thing is, after memorizing all those, we had Bishop Doherty from the Archdiocese of Newark was the bishop that confirmed me. He didn't ask us any of them.
Yeah.
He made up his own questions, which required you to think a little bit, which probably were more valuable, in retrospect. But we were there like, because like we had all the pat answers down. Why did God make you? God made you to show forth his goodness and to make you happy with him in heaven. And, who is God? God is the supreme being and maker of all things. And all those kind of Baltimore Catechism answers. And he didn't ask us any of those questions.
You made your confirmation in 19...
Well, I was in 6th grade, so was that like 64 maybe?
Because I made mine in 5th grade.
Well, the bishop would come every 2 years.
Yeah.
So if you were going to be 12-ish and it was like 5th grade, you might make it in 5th, but 6th was like the normal year.
I don't know who the bishop was that confirmed me. I think it was Hogan, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it wasn't R, and it was supposed to be Bishop R, and he couldn't make it, and so they sent this other guy. But I remember he asked a kid a question, and the kid stood up and blanked. And I thought, oh, God.
Oh, brother, let us pray.
God, she's going to hell. Oh, God. And the bishop just laughed and said, that's okay. Have a seat. Everybody forgets that one. Who thinks that they have an answer? So, and then everybody, you could just hear this collective.
I actually raised my hand and answered a question.
Does not surprise me. She was the liturgy expert back then.
Back then I would have been embarrassed to have thought that I would be a liturgy person and I guess it was destined because even when I graduated 8th grade, they gave out awards for different subjects. I got the award for religion.
Of course you did.
And I didn't want that one. I wanted anything but the religion award. It was like, no, not that one.
Tell you what else I found. My dad had it wasn't a Bible. It was a copy of the New Testament. No Revelations, though. But it was the rest of the New Testament. And my father had written this lovely inscription in it to my mother.
Aw.
And I also found a Christmas card that my father wrote to my mother. And to the best of my knowledge, my parents never exchanged Christmas cards.
Well, that was to the best of your knowledge. Who knows?
I don't remember if they even exchanged Christmas gifts, but I don't remember Christmas. And so when I found this, I was like, oh, wow. Dad wrote out this card to Mom. Wow. And I think I did hold on to that.
Well, I know when we were cleaning out my mother's house, and I think my sister wound up taking it, or maybe my brother, there was a picture of my grandfather, quite young, and he had written on the back of it a note to my grandmother, and it was like, when you get old and cannot see, put on your specs and think of me, John.
And I have the stuff that I got from your grandmother via your mother when she used to work for Thomas Edison.
What, like what?
There was some kind of a Thomas Edison jubilee or celebration or something, and they had like a booklet that they gave out. And so I have that in one of the bins.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Surprise.
Yeah. Maureen's, I think both your grandparents, right, worked for Thomas Edison?
I think they both did. I know definitely my grandmother did. I'm not sure about my grandfather. It was kind of like if he did, it was only very, very briefly.
Your grandmother totally disillusioned me about Thomas Edison.
I know.
Thomas Edison was one of my boyhood idols. And I read up on everything about Thomas Edison. My dad took me a few times to the Edison site. Later in life, I would go up to the West Orange site, which is actually the much bigger site. But I'd been out to the Edison site and the Edison Tower numerous times. And so when Maureen told me that her grandmother worked for Thomas Edison, I was like, hot damn, this is going to be good. Oh, I got to talk to her. And so when I talked to her, I said, Mom, so Maureen tells me that you worked for Thomas Edison. Yes, I did. Well, the Wizard of Menlo Park. He was my boyhood idol. What? Tell me about him. And she says he wasn't so much of a much. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, a lot of those inventions that had his name, he bought those from other inventors. He didn't pay crap for them. But he would buy the rights to them and he would, improve them and work them up and put his name on it. And she said he was a nasty old man who was deaf, which is true. Edison was deaf as a post. You had to yell into his ear. And she said he was nasty. He slept in his clothes.
He chewed tobacco and drooled down the front of him.
Mrs. Edison would have to come out and bring him clean shirts all the time. And then something would upset him at the plant, and he'd fire everybody. Get out! You're all fired! Get out! And the next day he'd be, where is everybody? And Mrs. Edison would be, well, Tom, you fired them all yesterday. And, well, get them back. So that was her description of, of Thomas Edison to me. This cranky old, nasty, ill-tempered, penny-pinching genius.
But I remember we went together to the site in West Orange, and that was really cool because I knew my grandmother had worked there, and it was like her spirit was there, and it was kind of neat.
Where did she work in the plant?
She worked in the record library, as I understand it, foreign records to be precise, because her family was from Germany, so I imagine she spoke German, at least to some degree. And she worked in, I don't know if like shipping or cataloging, but she had access to those thick records that used to play on that megaphone type of Edison recorder.
Yeah.
Not the cylinders, but they were like records, but they were like maybe a half-inch thick.
Yeah.
And my mother said when they were kids, they had so many of them. They used them like to prop up stools. Like they had a clubhouse out in the backyard, and they were like junk to them. Like my grandmother would bring home the things that nobody wanted.
They
or
were
whatever.
very thick.
And so that was what she had something to do with that. I don't know specifically because she never wanted to talk about it. Like you said, you asked her, and she made light of it. It's like no big deal. He was a jerk, And at the time, I didn't know enough about it to ask either, But that was my understanding, and I believe that's where she met my grandfather, was at Edison's. But he later went on to become a trolley car driver and then a bus driver.
I wonder if they have any records at the plant in West Orange as to different employees over the years, and if her name would show up in there.
I don't know. We'll have to, we know a couple people that act as docents over there. We should ask them.
Yeah, I think Hap Boysha from our church
and
is
Ian
a docent there.
Boselide too.
So we'll have to check that out. Are there any other treasures that we missed?
I don't know. I also found a tablecloth that my mother and my Aunt Lou hand embroidered, and they used to pass it back and forth. And their deal was whoever put the last stitch in got to keep it. Well, my mother made damn sure she kept it. And now I have it. And it's really lovely, but it doesn't fit our table. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm not getting rid of that.
I think the most important memories, though, or most important treasures are the memories that we had here over 35 years. And a lot of good ones, some not so good, unfortunately, but a lot of good ones. And we will take those with us, too.
Aye, matey.
And they will probably last longer than any of the physical ones that we bring with us, except my mother's lamp, which will probably be here long after we are both gone. Sorry, kids, but I'm going to fob it off onto one of you. Hey, that's our podcast for this week. Hope you liked it. We're going to try and keep doing podcasts through the move. We may wind up doing one of them right over our cell phones or something, because eventually we're going to have to pack up all this equipment and get it out of here. And if you want to write to us with
So that is our episode from February 14th, 2020. If you're wondering what happened to the electric trains, yes, They did go to my long-term pal, Tony Brennan, and he enjoyed them. He actually sent me a video of him running the trains underneath his Christmas tree, and it made me very happy to see him enjoy it so much. Unfortunately, Tony passed away in 2024. As far as Maureen's Barbie doll goes, we still have the head, and only the head. We've never found the body. And about the lamp, today, as I'm sitting here speaking to you, today is March 8th, 2025. It is the 5th anniversary of our moving into this house. It is also the anniversary of my mother's passing in 1971. I still have the lamp.